Alright, so we're checking out the latest 2022 edition of the Meteor75 from BETAFPV. So this was, I guess it was updated back in October of 2021 with the new ExpressLRS onboard receiver. And now they have all these new updates for the end of 2022. And you've seen all of these in the Meteor65 Pro video from about 2.5 months ago, from December of 2022. So I did a video on that. That's basically this same electronics and everything, just a different frame and smaller prop size. So instead of the 75mm motor size, it's 65 millimeters motor with a 35mm propeller, and it's a 3-bladed propeller on the Meteor65 Pro. And now we have a bi-blade 40mm propeller on the same motor. It's the new 0802 19,500 kV motors. The special edition silver and blue, I guess they call them the snow motors. So that was also on the Meteor65 Pro. The updated canopy, video transmitter, the CO3 camera, and the 1S all-in-one flight controller. And it's the same flight controller board here. It's a F4 flight controller on board ExpressLRS, but it's not the SPI version. It's a serial version of the ExpressLRS receiver, so you're not bound to whatever Betaflight's doing. So yeah, basically with the same motor, instead of just slightly bigger prop but bigger weight, and now with a bigger battery. A little bit of differences. I'll talk about that here in this video. As usual, you get this standard BETAFPV case. You get your basically little canopy decorations that go on top. That's what these little holes are for, so you can put them on top. This adds about 1.5 grams of weight, so I tend to not put these on. And you get a spare set of bi-blade 40mm propellers. And this is pretty standard these days. You get your USB-C cable and the charger. USB-C charger just runs off of 5 volts, and then you can also use that to test the batteries. Mine came with two 450 1S batteries. This is their standard 1S battery. And you can put this in here like so and see what the current charge is on the battery. It's a battery checker. It's pretty nice. I'm not 100% sure if the batteries are included if you buy it and the bind fly or not. Sometimes they send me the batteries, but I don't believe they are included. I think they're extra, but I'm pretty sure the charger is included. Alright, so we'll just go ahead and show you what it weighs. Obviously, very light, about 24.6 grams, a little under 25 grams, and then together with the 1S450, 37.1. So with the obviously much larger 450 battery versus the 300 milliamp battery on the Meteor65 Pro, you're going to get a little bit more flight time on this one, on this setup here. It's not a whole lot more, so it depends on how you're flying, of course, and the conditions and etc. These aren't the greatest batteries in the world. Kind of wish they would improve these, but the performance has been pretty constant over the last couple of years. Obviously with the BT 2.0 connector. 3 minutes if you're pretty aggressive flying around. You can stretch it out to 3.5 to 4 minutes if you're really general on the throttle, but it kind of depends on the way you fly and how windy it is if you're flying it outside. Of course, with no wind indoors, you're probably going to get a little bit better flight time. So last year they did introduce some new Meteor75 frames in terms of the colors. The frame design hasn't changed much in quite a while, but they've added a whole bunch of new colors back then. This baby blue color is new, and they've also sent along some extra new ones here, like this sort of green color, transparent color, and this sort of dark yellow color. They had a bright yellow color that they introduced last year. So you can see it's a little bit slightly different shade. It's kind of a lighter color yellow. It's the darker color yellow. But yeah, nowadays, pretty much for all the versions now, for the Meteor65, 65 Pro, and the 75, you have a variety of different colored frames. I believe also for the canopy, you have a different variety of different canopy colors as well available. So if you check the link to the official BETAFPV store, there'll be links in the product page for this for the various different colors of frames and canopies. If you want to swap out those parts, you can do that. Also, if you happen to have the Meteor65 Pro, you just have to get the bi-blade 40mm propellers and upgrade to the larger frame, and you can get a 75, basically the 75 2022 edition, as it will convert it to that. Although I think the pid tune's a little bit different. I didn't check to see what the exact differences are. They tend to, as usual, update them over time. So if you happen to buy one of these, say in February of 2023, it might have a certain pid tune flashed onto it, and then maybe a slightly newer version of BetaFly will come out a little bit later, and say like May of 2023, and a slightly updated pid tune. So yeah, they tend to do that, a lot of these companies. So what you might get might be different from what I have here. So but generally speaking, they will fly pretty good. They generally fly it and have it a little bit tuned. But this one, as usual for most whoops, as you see in the flight footage, for windy day, not the best. You can see it from flying it outside with the flagpole. It's a pretty stiff 15-mile-an-hour wind, but it is still able to fly around. It's just that's a lot harder to control. So if you're a beginner, I recommend not flying this outside in a lot of wind, because it is a lot harder to control, just because of the wind, because it's so light. Now, some of you are probably wondering, hey, I just saw some new photos up on their Instagram on the 75 Pro, which is coming out. I think it's coming out pretty soon. I should have that fairly soon. I don't have it yet. So if you have any questions about that, go ahead and ask them down in the comment section, and I'll gather those up. And then when I do the review for the 75 Pro, I'll try and answer those questions. But basically, it's just like the differences between the Meteor 65 and the Meteor 65 Pro. I believe they just slightly increased the size of the prop. So I believe it goes from 40 millimeters to 45 millimeters for the propeller, and they have a bi-blade or tri-blade option for that, and of course you can have an updated frame. Not sure what the difference is going to be in the motor kV. I'm assuming the motor kV is probably going to go down a little bit because the larger prop size. But yeah, I won't know until I get that. But I imagine that all the flight controller, the camera, and the canopy are probably going to be the same, just a difference in the prop size, and of course a slightly different frame to accommodate that slightly larger prop size. And of course, with the larger prop and everything, it's probably going to be a little bit heavier, and the frame is obviously going to be a little bit heavier. But with that larger, going from a 40 millimeter propeller to a 45 millimeter propeller, is probably going to give you a lot more power and probably also more flight time. So I imagine it's going to probably be similar in footprint to the 75. Obviously, the 65 Pro was only just a couple millimeters wider, and in terms of dimensionally, so it was almost the same footprint. But with going from a 31 millimeter propeller to a 35 millimeter propeller, you got a lot more agility and power in that. So that I kind of like that. So I'm kind of looking forward to this 75 Pro. I'll have that soon, hopefully, hopefully in a few weeks, and I'll put that video out. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you want to check out that video. And that's going to do it for this one. Talk to you guys in the next one.